Dr. Phil here again, and I want to talk to you about the real story. And I think this is something that you're going to have to concentrate on, but I think it's very, very important. And I don't think the real story is really filtering down. We, taxpayers, are paying universities to attack America and its Western values. More accurately, our government is using money it takes from us in the form of taxes and giving it as grants or whatever form to universities that are promoting anti-Israel and anti-American ideologies. Now, stopping wasteful spending, like through DOGE, is very important, to be sure. No question about that. But even as important or more important is to stop using our tax dollars to subsidize university bloat and intellectual rot that is being taught, particularly at our elite universities, that is just fundamentally helping to destroy America. Now, I want to share with you some evidence on which my statements are based. Now, most universities right now, research universities in particular, are enrolling 2 to 3 times as many graduate students as they are undergraduates. Now, I'm going to tell you why this is a problem and why this is incestuous. The ringleaders of anti-Israeli protest have typically been graduate students. I'm going to quote heavily from an article in the Wall Street Journal, an editorial entitled "Madness at Columbia, Was Your Tax Dollars at Work?" And it was written by Alicia Finley. I thought the main goal of universities was to teach undergraduate students. Colleges, Alicia opines, being resourceful businesses that they are, have boosted revenue by adding pricey graduate programs and enrolling more graduate students. Now, an example is Brown University in December warned of a $90 million budget hole with one proposed solution: doubling the number of residential master's students. Now, Mahmoud Khalil, the anti-Israeli activist who led the Columbia protest and whom the Trump administration also seeks to deport, went to Columbia for a master's in public administration. How much did that cost? Well, somewhere between $110,000 to $150,000 a year. Now, universities often waive tuition for graduate students in return for their teaching or assisting with undergraduate classes. Now, such in-kind compensation is normally treated as taxable income. Now, meaning, I think in other businesses, but not so at colleges. But graduate tuition waivers are exempt. Now, what does that mean? Well, we as taxpayers are subsidizing universities, doing all of this by giving them tax breaks. That means that universities get subsidized to add graduate programs and then get subsidized through tax exemptions to have grad students teach undergraduates, where at Columbia, annual tuition is like $71,500. Little wonder, with all these subsidies at different levels, that universities have added so many graduate programs and students, many, if not most of which, do not teach marketable skills, but rather simply attract radical ideologues. Now, that's why I say it's incestuous. What happens is we get these guys to come in here and they can't afford the tuition, but no problem. It's a trade-out. They're going to teach undergraduate classes where they're spewing anti-Semitism, where they're spewing pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas ideology, to our impressionable undergraduates who then go out on the street and start protesting. And colleges around the country are adding master's programs in such fields as social work, humanitarian community development, and Middle Eastern studies, costing six figures to rake in more federal dollars. Federal dollars. And there is more. Our tax dollars actually subsidize buying more land so they can build buildings to house these resident graduate programs. We're buying them land and building buildings that they own with our tax dollars, creating tremendous bloat in the physical growth of the universities that are promoting this anti-American, pro-terrorist rot. Their physical growth is also subsidized by the taxpayers. Where do you think the Fed is getting this money to pay these universities? Washington allows private colleges to raise money via tax-exempt municipal bonds, which are typically reserved for government public work projects. I'm focusing on Columbia because they're really in the news right now. They have issued nearly $1.5 billion in tax-exempt debt since 2002, with most bonds yielding an interest rate between 1% and 2%. And there are still more subsidies from us as taxpayers. Thanks to federal tax breaks, Columbia can borrow at 1% to 3% to finance their expansions, while their endowments grow at 8% a year via non-taxable donations and investment earnings that are taxed at a maximum of 1.4%. Now, you're probably not following all that math, so just let me break it down for you. They're making money off of you and me, and they're spending it to indoctrinate rather than educate our undergraduate kids. Your sons and daughters, your grandsons and granddaughters are going in there and being taught by a lot of graduate students that are not U.S. citizens that we're paying to teach anti-Semitic, pro-terrorist ideologies. With all of our money flowing to Columbia in this many ways, it's little wonder that it has become New York's largest private landowner. Let me say that again so it doesn't go by real fast. Columbia has now become New York City's largest private landowner. And who do you think bought it for them? You and me, with our tax dollars. The article concludes that if we want to curb the radical ideology, what I am on record calling intellectual rot that has taken over campuses, all we need to do is stop subsidizing it. As I have often said, never ever reward bad behavior, because whatever you subsidize, you get more of. Period. Let's stop subsidizing bloat and intellectual rot at major universities. Now, I want to applaud President Trump and Elon Musk and Doge for turning the spotlight on wasteful spending. It is a crime for our government to take money away from us under penalty of prosecution and imprisonment and then just waste it by spending it on things that do nothing for our common good. Throwing our money away is something that we should definitely ferret out and stop. Hats off to President Trump for his efforts to expose waste and stop it. But what we're talking about now is even more important, and that is stopping the government from spending our money on things that actually harm us, put us at risk, undermine our values and culture and very existence. This happens in lots of ways. For example, our government gave our money to Iran, which Iran then used to wage war against Israel. Similarly, the government is taking money from us and giving it to universities such as Columbia for its use in importing and promoting anti-Israel and anti-American violence and hatred. It is bad enough that they do it. It is even worse knowing that they are doing what they are doing with our money. Our government gives them to do things that affirmatively hurt us all. We need to be raising all kinds of hell about that. That's just not the way the left liberal press is telling it. I'm giving you the real story. Wherever you're getting the real story, make sure you subscribe and follow. Your body is a system, and when it's running right, you feel focused, energized, in flow, but sometimes we struggle to find that flow state. Why? Because there's too much static in our system, brain fog, fatigue, and inflammation. The Echo Flask clears the static by infusing your water with molecular hydrogen, a natural science-backed gas that helps your body think sharper, recover faster, and run smoother. This is more than hydration. It's better focus, more energy, faster recovery, less internal stress, and longer-term benefits that keep you sharp. When your water works harder, your whole system does too. Find your flow state with the Echo Flask hydrogen water bottle and get an unlimited supply of hydrogen water at home and on the go. Visit echowater.com/Phil and use code Phil for 10% off. That's echowater.com/Phil. Enter code Phil to save 10%.